Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. First of all guys, go ahead and check out Anime King 2 and click that red subscribe button guys and build it up as this channel. And thank you for all of your help and support on that. And also, I haven't get any news on Anime King 2 yet, but I'll make sure to keep you guys informed whenever anything happens. And I'm wondering if I should just continue the videos over here. Seeing if it takes too long, I don't want you guys to lose interest in them. I don't want to, well, it takes long to post after all. What if Naruto was a ghost? I need to finish that. What if Naruto was transported to Justice League world? And also Naruto with the demonic powers, guys. From the devils. And also, what if Naruto had a dream? A new dream that will change everything. So yeah, if it takes so long, I'm going to be posting them on this channel. Oh, and for now I'm going to be giving you part 17 of What If Naruto was the same age as Itachi. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and stay tuned for the rest of what ifs coming their way. I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. And yeah, let's get straight into this new episode. So, the last time we left off, Naruto was downright furious as he wanted to kill Danzo. He really wanted to kill Danzo. But his agents, the envoys, were out searching for him. Komaki then came in and Danzo was gone. As Naruto told Hiruzen that the innocent man would not run. As Hiruzen could see the fire burning inside Naruto's eyes, he really wanted Danzo dead. Naruto made his way as his sister was still asleep, as he didn't know what to do. He felt terrible, even though he knew it. A part of him blamed himself that this was all his fault, that it was his fault that she's in this state right now, that he should have done a better job, he should have found out more and know that she was alive, as he was tearing him up inside to know that she was lying here. She was being used as a puppet of Danzo's. As Naruto went into the seal, he knew this was only going to work once, but he needed them right now. As Naruto used a seal to make his mother and father appear, as he tweaked it, so the seal would think that he was taking on a large amount of the Kyuubi's chakra and they would appear. Minato and Kushina were surprised by that, as they didn't know that Naruto was tampering with the seal. But he told them that it was alright, as he spoke to them sitting down there, and they all talked. The both of them was happy to see their son, as they didn't know what to make of the situation either with Danzo. But they believed in Naruto and knew that he would do the right thing. Minato was proud to hear that his son was a Hokage, as Kushina was proud for a boy as well. As they all sit down and talk, as Naruto told them about his life. As it seems like they spent hours in there, but Naruto's senses just told that it was a couple of minutes, as he didn't want them to leave, but they had to go. As their chakra started to fade, as he said his last goodbyes to them. And with that, they vanished. As Naruto came back out, as he woke up his sister, as she was like a puppet, just stunned and still. Within a time skip, as Inoichi told Naruto what he got from her. As he told Naruto about the program that Danzo put her through. As Naruto told him that he would be taking her. As she didn't know much things, only thing she knew was to fight and serve. We then had another time skip. Uncle was pregnant, yes, a lot more pregnant than before, so it was harder for her to get around. As she teach Naruto's sister, as she realized something, what the others didn't notice. The girl did not know how to do these things, so if you were forcing her to do something that she did not know, it was going to be difficult for her, as Uncle was trying to get her to have a hobby. As Naruto spoke to her as she went to the therapist for the last 2 months. Now she was hanging out with Ino and the others, as they were going shopping, as she tried to socialize with things, as she found herself smiling often. It was rather strange for her, a new emotion, and her brother, as everything was just new to her, and she will have to get used to it. So yeah guys, so it's basically that's what I thought. You guys can Switch across the place and shut off yourself. So what is to begin this new episode? Naruto was looking over the papers in front of him with a critical eye as Mei. Well, the agreements that she was sending over, they were rather tricky with 3 loopholes in them. If he didn't correctly go over them, she would gain full access to Water Country. He would make sure to hand them over to Hiruzen later to give them a final check though. The man could spot things a mile away, but Naruto still wanted to try this first. As he couldn't lean on the third forever, the man was ordered winding down his role in things. Relaxing nowadays. Yes, he deserved it though. Relaxing with his family and going on. The man had even taken up painting, and he was also with his grandson Konoha. Naruto glanced up as Sakura came back from her outing with the girls. He couldn't thank them enough for being so patient with his sister. Just another way he could count on his cute little students. As he returned to his work, as Sakura sat down on the couch, as she sat right next to him. She never used to sit down next to anyone, always preferring to be a distance. Hey, you okay? She nodded slowly, as Naruto saw her fidgeting a bit. Before he could ask what was going on, she leaned forward and placed both arms on his shoulder. He froze when she came even further. She was hugging him, as his eyes were wide, as he was surprised. I am unsure how long a hug is supposed to last, she said. As Naruto put her arm around her, hugging her back. I'll let you know, he said. Time skip. Observe the clash of personality between Haya and Sakura had become the highlight of Naruto's day. His little sister was trying to learn all kinds of, well, ways to interact with people, but she always retreated on herself when she was given something uncomfortable or unfamiliar, and Haya was certainly one of those things, as Haya had put the business about her clan behind her to say to her new sister figure. The very fact that Sakura seemed so withdrawn encouraged Haya. Sneaking up on the blonde had become her new game when the older Namikaze was around. Well, the first time she did this wasn't so humorous because it was, well, nearly lethal. Sakura still had difficulties putting aside surprises from ambushes. Still, it was worth it to watch as Haya zapped her in the room as she was throwing peas at Sakura. Sakura was reading as she used her one hand to slap them away without even looking up. As Uncle was also chiming in as well, putting Sakura into different situations and releasing little bundle of speed on her. The house hasn't felt so alive in months. Naruto's hand flashed out and caught a pea before it slammed right in the Anbu mask that just appeared next to him. Morning to her, said Naruto. Sir, the alarms in Tunnel 5 have been triggered. The good humor immediately drained from Naruto's face. Right. Get the team in position as planned. The Anbu touched his chest as he vanished. As Naruto looked over towards Uncle, she mouthed the word Danzo. As Naruto nodded. As she nodded back to him, giving him eyes full of encouragement, she would watch the girls while he was gone. With a thankful smile, Naruto said goodbye as he vanished in a flash. As Naruto appeared on the rooftop, he could already see his orders going through. The shinobis and the civilians wouldn't notice anything different, but there was a certain flow to the Anbu. A smirk came on Naruto's face as Danzo was riding towards a bait. Yes, Danzo really thought that he was above the Hokage. His pride would be his downfall. The days following Sakura's rescue had been an embarrassment for the Black Ops because of the extension of Danzo's reveal. Miles of underground tunnel and bunkers rivaling the civilian shelters. The fact that all of this has been happening right under their nose was like a hard fist to the gut. After all, they were supposed to be the ones in the shadow to watch over the village safety, and they let all this happen and none of them knew. The answers going down there though was mostly unsatisfying, as Danzo has covered his tracks rather well. But Naruto knew from experience that no contingency plan was perfect, and if he left the man an inch to finish the job, Danzo was bound to snatch into the chance and do it. While the Anbu searched the complex from within, as Naruto called in a favor to have it searched from above with Byakugan, a few of the more secretive tunnels had been located by the Hyugas, and the Anbus ignored it. Danzo, or one of his agents, has just strolled into it like he owned the place, right into the trap. Already Anbus were shifting about as they flood the complex. Really, the man had been so overconfident with his special skills, what they did to block Naruto Irish in, they thought they could come and go as they pleased. And they should know by now, Naruto was a seal master. Once he had a part of the seal that they used, he could inscribe it with his own. As the Hirishin blockers were deactivated, As Naruto flashed away and appeared beside a small group with Komake leading it. No words were spoken as they kept on their trail, as they all spread out and waited until Naruto received a signal that everyone was in place. As he put a smile on his face as he walked around the corner. Evening, Danzo. While this was going on, a figure was walking through the village. As black clothing, most of the civilians moved out of the figure away because they felt the ominous aura. As a Jonin made his way over, as he tried to keep the situation calm and light, it wouldn't be wise to upset the civilians and cause a panic without any problem, as the person was wearing a hat, so you could not see their face fully. Can I help you? The Jonin asked, as he tried to peer under the hat, but the hat was coming down and there was dangles on the end, so you could not see the features of the person, but it was feminine. You will move out of my path. The voice was completely flat, androgynous. The Jonin frowned lightly, but he kept a smile on his face. It wouldn't do well to upset the civilians, to create a panic if something was going to happen. I'm afraid that I'll have to ask you to step aside and have a quick chat with me for the moment, said the Jonin. Meanwhile, the reaction from the root operatives that Danzo brought with him was predictable. Two of them quickly moved forward to cover the threat, while the other one stayed with Danzo to go back down the tunnel. But Naruto didn't have to move as Senbons covered in electric pulse took them down. As the two envoys dropped down to the ground, the other envoys in the complex were being captured. As all of this was happening, all the roots were being captured without Naruto even lifting a finger. That's better now, don't you think? Said Naruto, as Danzo turned and looked at him. It seems you have been more successful than I thought to get young Sakura to reveal root operating procedures, said Danzo. I assume then you also know I can activate every root operative seal with a single thought. Oh, please go ahead. I'm actually quite curious which is faster, your thought. As Naruto flicked a kunai that appeared in his hand. Or my hand, he said. Danzo just looked at him. So, about that talk, said Naruto. Meanwhile, the envoys on the roof tensed slightly. The figure on the road did not move. As the civilians started to notice, as a circle started to open up, surrounding the Jonin and the civilian, the person was standing there, the unknown person. Please, I must insist that you step to the side of the street for a moment. You're causing a disruption. The figure merely glanced about, looking at nervous people. Even here, the people know when they're in a greater presence, the figure said. This is far enough then. As the civilians start to move away from the potential fight, as the Jonin started to move his hand towards his kunai holster. Meanwhile, did you just think that you'll get away with it? All these kids you stole from their families. Naruto's tone was conversational, but his eyes were cold as he glared at the man. Looking at Danzo, it brought back that surge in anger he first felt when he saw his sister in full. You are such a disappointment, Danzo said, as he looked at Naruto up and down. Your father, while idealistic and naive, was an apparition to the whole nation, our enemies, even cowering them from the thought of attack. Face Konoha and he would face the Yellow Flash. I thought this might lead to a generation of weakened, reliant shinobi, but then you came. You, Itachi and Shisui. Such potential, such talent, all taken under the wing of heroes and ideals. I maintain hope that you three would prove me wrong, outside somewhere, without my influence, that you might come to understand the real nature of our work. The roots, feeding a leaf. But no, Shisui would prove too difficult, and Itachi too patriotic. And then I was left with you, said Danzo. You have your mother's whip, if no one has ever told you that before. Another prominent asset, so uselessly wasted. I knew if I wanted Uzumaki though, there was only one way. I don't believe I was the only one to benefit from the Kyuubi attack. But when shinobis can't make a best out of a crisis, we're hard defeating of the name shinobi. Those who endure. Perhaps the only thing heroes and I agree on. You know, I don't doubt, you and your father share a similar talent for tactics. Strategy on the other hand, there was always heroes in game. If you think I am stalling, my boy, you have not the faintest idea. You think I would be foolish enough to place myself in such a place without any contingencies? I am so many steps ahead of you, it's almost laughable. Why do you think I chose no of all times to return? Said Danzo. Meanwhile, there was no doubt that this was going to be a battle, as envoys came down in the street outside. The figure still stood there calmly, as the Jonin was in front of him. Remove your hat and cloak and lie down on the ground, hands where I can see them. Very well, this has gone far enough. As they tossed your hat to the side, many of the envoys' eyes widened aside beneath. Konoha shall know pain. Meanwhile, I admire the bluster, Danzo. I'm sure whatever you plan will be spectacular, said Naruto. As the emotion for the envoys come to romance around the man, Danzo himself seemed unruffled as he glanced at them before his attention returned back to Naruto. It's unwise for a village leader to leave his village unattended for so long. While their visitors knocked on the door, Naruto only had a moment to think about the statement before some titanic explosion shook the entire room. It was coming from above. As Naruto had dived to his side, pushing one of his envoys out of the way as the ceiling started to break down. By the time he regained his bearings, Danzo had vanished. Naruto had a sinking feel that he wouldn't show up again. They had secured every exit, but at the end of the day, this was Danzo's base. As Naruto's eyes scanned the room as quick as possible to see if his envoy's guards were okay. And with that he flashed to the surface. It was chaos as animals were ripping through the village, summoning creatures. As shinobis were moving away with civilians, getting them to safety. As Naruto stopped a passing Kunoichi as he got the report. It's the Akatsuki. We tried to stop him, but he summoned more. Like contract animals. They're too powerful. They keep on swatting aside people that try to stop them, and Naruto raised his hand. Calm down, he said. After a few shaky breaths, she did. Now, how many of them are there? What are they doing? And where are they located? As it took her a moment as she was red in the face, realizing how she was adjusting the Hokage. We think about 6 of them, Hokage-sama. They scattered as soon as they were summoned, and it looked like they were trying to cause as much chaos as possible. Naruto processed that 6 Akatsuki? That was a lot of firepower. He hadn't even thought they had that many members left. Still, what did a handful of shinobis, even ones that powerful, think they could accomplish in the middle of a village? An actual attack was out of the question, which made it seem likely it was a diversion. The Akatsuki known goals was Biju, but coming after him in the middle of his own village, they had to be rather arrogant, too arrogant, or suicidal. His eyes then narrowed dangerously. He wasn't the only Jinchuriki in the village. Most of the envoys are on the ground. Start spreading a message to divert the summoning animals instead of destroying them. Keep them in a containing area until reinforcements can arrive. Continue with the evacuation. Anyone not helping the animals, help with that. If my village is a battleground, I want it as that. As few innocent casualties as possible. And the Akatsuki Hokage-sama. Leave that to actually. If I could have a moment of your time, said the voice. Naruto barely had time to be alarmed as a hand dropped on his shoulder as he felt the feeling of a space-time technique take hold. But Naruto flashed away to a high-reaching marker. As he turned back, the village was literally his marker, so he appeared near to his destination. As he saw was another Akatsuki member. But Naruto saw the orange mask swirling to a singular eye hole as it chilled his blood. He would recognize that description anywhere. "Ah," the man said, "you ruined my surprise. I had this awesome thing planned out where I would zoop you away and I get a model like my evil plan. And you could be the dashing hero and everything." While he was talking that childish tone, his hand was around the Kunoichi's neck, a kunai pressed up against her throat as he pulled it. As her neck got sliced slightly. "The hard way then," he said as his voice turned deep and dark. "I think you will know where to find me, Hokage-sama." And with that, he took the Kunoichi away with him, vanished in a swirling vortex. Naruto cursed, head darted this way and that as he fretted over his options. The village was under attack and he couldn't just abandon it to go chase after one man. But he knew how dangerous that one man was, and to abandon the Kunoichi to her fate was like a knife in the gut. As shinobis were here, but strong enough to fight 6 Akatsuki members. He calmed himself. Jiraiya was still in the village. Tsunade was in the village. Kakashi, Guy, the envoys, his students. All of them were strong. As the Akatsuki wasn't fighting individual shinobi, they were fighting Konoha. He had his own fight as he turned his attention to the top of the monument where he knew the masked man was waiting. He would have to make this quick. Meanwhile, Pain walked through the village slowly. The streets around him are devastation. His cloak blew back as one of the Ashura weapons destroyed a nearby building. The defenses the village was putting up was pathetic, with their Hokage attention diverted. They could even organize enough to contain the animal path summon, let alone stop him. No force, however great, could stand before a dynamic entry. The Deva path was struck by a kick that sent him sailing across the street. "The green beast of Konoha is here, villain. Prepare to be destroyed by the awesome flames of my youth," said Guy. Pain ripped himself out of the wall as he took one look at the man before calling the robot path to deal with him. But before the robot path could release his explosive lightning blade as a lightning covered hand ripped through his chest. As Kakashi tossed the limp bud to the side and looked at the real threat. As Kakashi already had his Sharingan revealed. "Ah, eternal rival. I see you're here to aid me, to take down the villains and protect Konoha. Sorry, guy. Did you say something? Asked Kakashi. As hip as ever, my friend. But I will not be outdone, said Guy. As he went into a taijutsu stance, the Akatsuki they follow my home, and if I'm unable to defeat them here, then... Pain grew irritated as he raised his hand. Almighty, push! Guy was seen sailing across the street. As Kakashi, I drew a blank at what just happened. The man's chakra was strange, more like a cloud within his body than flowing through the usual pathways. There was a brief concentration in the eyes when he performed the technique, but for exactly what he did right there, the Sharingan simply drew a blank. Fancy name for a simple technique to Kakashi. When in doubt, well, simply wait for backup. Something told him that he was a little over his head here. With it alone, I have the power to level this village. You have far more concerns, however. Kakashi's eyes widen as he leaped aside the black canister, shoot past his head. Pain raised his hand as an explosion just blew off a shield in front of him. But Kakashi was thrown back by the force of the blast. He twisted his body and flipped over the blade that nearly pierced through his back. He landed behind the man that he just thought he killed. So, since when does a hole through the chest does not pull someone down? As the bald Akatsuki member in front of him looked perfect, even his cloak was undamaged. That just seems unfair. As Kakashi saw another one, as he went through hands and breathed a massive fireball. But another pain jumped in the way, and the technique was sucked away. Any other tricks I should know about? I am not so easily outdone, friend, said Guy as he exploded out of the rubble that he was buried under. As he saw the new faces. What is going on here, Kakashi? As Kakashi motioned after the fleeing pain. Guy, go after that one. Yuck, said Guy, his body enveloped in a green aura. Two of the paths tried to stop him, but he shot past in a blur, going after the revival path, which left Kakashi standing there surrounded by the other three. As the tubby one that sucked away Kakashi's technique charged after Guy, and the one that Kakashi already killed came after Kakashi, as his hands fold back revealing two spinning blades. But something dropped from the sky. There was an explosion as the Rasengan drilled right through the robot path. As Jiraiya pulled his arm out of the thing. You go after Bowl Cut. I got this one, said Jiraiya. As Kakashi noticed his voice lacking any of the usual mirth about it, his face was dead serious as he looked towards Tendo Pain. As Kakashi nodded and went after Guy. After all, if Jiraiya could handle this guy, what chance in hell did he have? Yaiku, said Jiraiya. Jiraiya Sensei, said Pain. Meanwhile, Naruto didn't have any Hiroshin markers on top of the Hokage monument in a small forest, so he arrived in a swirl of leaf. He stood on top of a tree branch looking at the masked man. The man just stood there, the no-gag Kunoichi held up by her hair with a kunai at her throat. She was trying to compose herself, gaining a hopeful smile, seeing Hokage arrive, but she was trembling slightly. Did I get the wrong one, the man said in a childish tone. You're not Sunshin Shisui, right? Naruto jumped from a tree, stopped Miss Neroni as he stepped forward. Oh, but Miss Neron's the only fun you can have in this dull, broken world, isn't it? I thought that you learned that at least from your pretty fiancé. As Naruto twitched at that. But he refused to rise to the bait. What do you want? No, too soon. We have to draw this out. Come on, it's like I'm dealing with an amateur here. First, I made my grand monologuing speech where I lay out all my plans and my hideous, evil atrocities that I've committed. Then you make a retort or I lay in some unseen trap for to catch me. I make some grand gesture for you to rescue the hostage in nick of time, followed by her immense, direct battle that will determine the fate of the village and all the lives in it. As he raised both of his hands momentarily, bringing the kunai away from the Kunoichi's throat. If you insist, said Naruto. Well, no, I'm not in the mood anymore. The man's voice lost all the playfulness as he brought the kunai down to end the Kunoichi's life. Time seemed to slow for a second, as Naruto's feet made crater in the ground as he shoot forward with every ounce of speed. As he reached in time, as he grabbed the woman and moved back, as the man kunai sliced right into his Hokage hat, just scarring it. As Naruto heard a sizzling sound, he grabbed her headband and threw it towards the man, as the headband exploded, chunks of dirt and earth blowing towards him. The man walked out of the explosion with a, well, cocky attitude as you can see, even with that mask on. That's more like it. A hero rescue, quick thinking, and a reversal drop. No, I know I picked the right guy. Naruto gave the Kunoichi a quick once over. She seemed alright, if a bit frightened, as he stabbed one of his kunais in the ground and vanished with the woman. as he appeared at a civilian bunker with a flash and dropped her off and flashed away as he reappeared near the kunai. The man hadn't moved since he was gone. As he was looking at his hand like he had on a watch. "What took you?" he said. "Oh, don't worry," said Naruto. "You have my full attention now." He launched forward a Rasengan coming into his palm as he moved. As the distance between them seemed like it didn't exist, as he grinded the ball of chakra into the man's chest, only for it to pass right through. Oh no, it appears that... The man stopped though when he realized Naruto didn't pass through his body and fall over like most did. Instead, Naruto stood there, holding the Rasengan inside the man's chest cavity, a grin split in his face, as Naruto looked right in the eye hole and smiled. "You know, you're not the only one that has done their homework." The hum of the Rasengan seemed to wash out all the usual noise of the forest. But for all the noise, he couldn't connect with the target, as Naruto did not know how long he could hold this for. "Well, this is new," the masked man said, looking down the arm emerging from his chest, as he took a step back, only to have Naruto follow him. As he jumped to the side, but Naruto followed him as well, Rasengan still in his chest. "If I run off the cliff, are you going to follow me? Your mother will tell you not to, of course." "Oh, wait." He leaned forward and Naruto didn't need to stay on the mask to know that the man was quoting him. But Naruto remained silent, as the masked man sighed. "Weird. Occasionally, people work out a few aspects of my ability while we fight. Having someone already know, that feels a bit cheaty, don't you think?" "Who clued you in? Come on, I won't tell. Was it old man Tuki over at the ramen stand? You know, I knew I shouldn't have tell my deeper, darker secrets, but the ramen was just too delicious." As the man leaped back, but Naruto followed him all the same. "Come on, how boring of a fight this is. Us just standing here, waiting for one of our techniques to time out. Where's the sense of drama? Where's your finesse? Why aren't you saying anything?" As he phased right through Naruto. "Seriously, you're not even setting me up for the exciting part where I reveal that my ally has been sneaking upon you the entire time." Naruto pivoted so fast on his feet that the Rasengan teared through the air with a blue gust. He hadn't sensed the thing creeping upon him until the man announced his presence, and he was almost too late to stop it from lashing onto him. The Rasengan smashed into its head though, splattering white piece of chunk everywhere. Where they landed, little white saplings spawned from the earth, as it was a body of a strange human, white. Its skin looked like it had the texture of a shade tree. The most concerning thing though, until it appeared behind him, Naruto could not sense it. "Oh, that was fast," the masked man said. "But what are you gonna do about the other ones?" As Naruto glanced up to see a small army of things emerging from the trees, as he cursed his luck for a moment, as he reached into his kunai pouch. Meanwhile, silence. As teacher and students stared at each other. "I thought you were dead, all three of you," said Jiraiya, as he was uncertain how to feel at the moment, to find out that the dangerous mercenary group that he has been hunting for the past few years has been headed by his former student. It was a good thing that he was a master of his emotions. "Yaiko is dead. I am Pain. What happened to Nagato? Why do you have his eyes?" "Yaiko. I told you. Yaiko is dead. You will soon learn the feeling, Sensei." As he raised his hand, the wall of force was not even seen by Jiraiya. It's here, anchoring him into the ground, but even so he was blown back, tearing a trench through the earth. When the pressure finally relented, he released his technique, but Pain was already there, as he gave Jiraiya a bone-crushing kick, as Jiraiya smashed into the wall, as Pain charged forward towards him. Jiraiya blew a massive fireball, but he simply raised his hand as the thing was blown away. But Jiraiya was already on the roof, looking down at him. "Whatever happened to you three, whatever your motivation is for all of this, you made a mistake in attacking Konoha. We are only doing as you taught us," Jiraiya Sensei said a voice. Thin sheet peeled themselves off the buildings, fluttered around and creating something in the sky. Large paper wings, blue hair, golden eyes looked down. "You've grown into a beautiful young woman, Konan," said Jiraiya with a sad smile. "Is Nagato going to join us as well? This is turning into a strange reunion." "Nagato is dead. There is only Pain," said Tendo. Sheets of paper peeled from Konan as he turned shurikens. As she sent them towards Jiraiya, they certainly wasn't as soft as paper as they tear into the earth. He whipped his spear and bat them away, as she sent 3 giant paper shurikens. One of them dig right into his chest, caught him by surprise, before his body poofed away. A log dropped into the ground in his place. "Find him," said Pain. as Konan took to the air even more for a better view. Meanwhile, Guy was turning around the streets at a sharp pace, moving a green blur, as he had 3 gates open as he flipped onto a wall, exploding off of it with pure speed, as he twisted his body into a bone-breaking, spinning kick. The tall man that he was chasing ducked as Guy sailed over his head. By the time Guy touched the ground, the man had already vanished off into the streets. Guy bent his knees and jumped straight up in the sky as he saw him, as he started chasing him once again, as he caught up with him meeting another one, this one the long hair like a Yamanaka. Both of them are carrying the remains of his third, the one that his eternal rival had dispatched. How did they manage to bring his body here in such a short amount of time? Didn't even pass through Guy's mind. That and the oddity that they were feeding to some grotesque creature that came from the ground. But Guy powered through it. Konoha whirlwind! The animal path caught sight of him first, as the revival path then turned around. But Guy already swooped in and knocked away the animal path, as he sent a kick towards the revival path chain. As he then twisted his body once again, shooting off the ground, his speed immense, and he smashed his fist in the animal's path face. As the animal path folded around Guy's fist before his body was sent sailing through a nearby building. He was about to turn back around to deal with the revival path, but a one with slip back here was between them. This one caught his blow easily, redirecting it as he made Guy fall off balance. But Guy spun into a helicopter kick. The bigger man leaped back, but he had to spin around to absorb a lightning dog. If you haven't noticed, I was fighting this one guy, Kakashi. Of course my hit companion, but I feel just this once, it would be better to defeat this opponent together. Kakashi watched as the revival path was hauled to his feet by the newly revival robot path, as he was already sick of seeing that one die. Okay fine, but do not tell anyone. I have a mistake to maintain, he said. Meanwhile, large massive snake burst from its streets as he tried to impale and grab onto the rhino. While Tenzo was dealing with that, his attention was also trying to redirect a centipede towards a trap being laid by the Envoy squad. But the wear of his Genkai was starting to wear on his body. After all, he wasn't any Hoshirama Senju. He was already ragged from dealing with all these summons, and they haven't even managed to kill one yet. His concentration was split into too many, with 4 wood clones backing up 4 other squads. He was running on fumes at this point, as he created a wooden wall, but the centipede simply dived into the ground deep underground. He ignored it as he turned back to the rhino, as he managed to tangle up the beast's legs. But the thing, momentum, took it right through one of his favorite restaurants. But he made the stakes impale the creature and pushed it back. As he held it tight, the ground underneath him started to rumble. He was too late as the centipede burst out of the ground, as one of his mantles sliced him in the shoulders, sending him flying away. The thing then dived towards him to finish the job. He shifted to move out of the way only to have his arm collapse underneath him, as the slice in his arm put him off balance. Ame, now's the voice. As everything turned around to see Sasuke leaping off Ame's blade like a springboard. It looked like he was holding daggers of pure fire as he put them to good use when he slammed into the side of his summon. The thing cried out in pain as Sasuke sliced through his head, as he twisted his body and stabbed it into his eye before diving backwards. As the centipede rushed towards him, as Ame substituted with Sasuke. As Tenzo thought the girl was going to risk her life for Sasuke's, but he watched as she stepped off the ear. Nothing was there. She literally stepped on ear and twisted her body around the creature as she stepped again like she was on solid ground, driving her wind-sheathed blade into the summon's neck before allowing gravity to reclaim her. As she fell, her blade kept on tearing through the creature's body as the thing guts started to fall out. "Where are you injured?" Sakura asked. Her attention shifted to his shoulder, hands glowing before he could even answer. He was confused why she wasn't with the other medics that has been set up around the village. "Sakura, on your right," said Sasuke as the rhino was picking up itself. Tenzo shifted to deal with it, but Sakura stopped him. "Do not move, doctor orders," as she stood on her feet, as the beast kept charging towards her. As Sakura went to hand sign as she hardened the ground underneath her, with 2 wedges of rocks, pushing her feet forward. As she raised her fists, Yamato watched in astonishment as she dropped it right in the beast's face. The ground cratered. It was like a meteor was dropped from the sky as she leveled the rhino. The rhino itself was probably out cold before his face smashed into the street with such force. As Sakura turned her attention back to him, Yamato was speechless for the entire 30 seconds it took. Alright, you should be fine, but if you get another one like that, you should go to the rally point for more healing. You're also needing of a soldier pill. You're dangerously low on chakra. Come on, Sakura, we need to move on. Sasuke said that he got a weak take down that weird drill bird, said Ami. Okay, one moment. As she gave Tenzo one last over. As she smiled, stay safe. As the three of them took off. Monsters. Training monsters, said Tenzo, as he smiled as he got back to his feet. Meanwhile, the human path was observed in a small little house. It was tucked away towards the outskirts of the village. He stabbed a rod into the ground as he started to disrupt the seal array that was all around it. But suddenly, new seal array spread into life as it was refixing the others. There was a lot of traps set. Without his eyes, he would have walked right into it. Interesting, he said. Meanwhile, you've been working on your techniques, I see, said Jiraiya, as he was running on the building where Konan was flying through the streets. If she was surprised at him just suddenly popping up, she did not show it. You always told us that complacency was death for shinobis. She whipped her arms out as a barrage of sharp papers were sent towards him, as he dodged them with a smile on his face as they kept pace with one another. I always did try to make my students take the important lessons to heart. What is all this, Konan? What happened to you three, he asked. The orphans, I remember, was never capable of all of this. You couldn't have been capable of all of this. Life happened, Jiraiya-sensei. Life and pain and war. We all make sacrifices for it. As you know, pain more than anyone else. You should be proud of us soon. We would create a world of peace. As her hand shot out again, creating paper shurikens that speed after Jiraiya. Jiraiya breathed out a stream of flames. Even empowered by Konan chakra, they stood no chance, as the paper was incinerated. That isn't what I taught you. No, Jiraiya-sensei. That was a lesson taught us the hard way, said Konan, her voice flat without any real emotion. Then I know not to treat you lightly, Jiraiya said, aside. On the contrary, Sensei, you still underestimate us. When Jiraiya touched on the next rooftop, it seemed to come alive. Hundreds of explosive tags lashing onto him until he was completely wrapped up. Goodbye, Sensei. The tags all ignited. Her own wings came in front of her to shield her from the explosion. As the building broke down completely. As she focused where the dust was. As she saw a glimmer of white smoke. Her eyes widened. Nagato. Meanwhile, the human path had broken through the seals using his rods. Whatever they were supposed to do is, chakra, weaken them, as he was able to reach the door of the small cottage. Aside from the seals on it was also locked. With a thunderous kick, it broke off his inches. The lights were all off. The next step he took, a flurry of senbons came raining down on him. He deflected most of them, but a few managed to nick his arms and legs. But the poison could not do him anything. Poison could no longer affect these bodies. Blunt force trauma on the other hand, as a stake flew towards him as he caught it. It was enough to distract another one flew in the back of his head. It did not damage him too much, but it was irritating. The fact that the traps went off without him taking another step, that was surprising. If they were sealed base, his eyes would have warned him, so that meant someone was operating them. As he made his way in the house, they could trap every inch, it still would not stop a god. Pain had used his animal summons as he diverted his way. As he made his way, he received the information that the Nanabi Jinjulke was over here, at the Yamanaka compound. Already failed to receive her twice, he was going to fail the third time. His eyes warned him off the ground, getting forced with chakra, but he couldn't deflect fast enough as he was pulled underneath, the ground becoming a muddy substance. But he did not panic, he simply turned his gaze towards Jiraiya, who was on the rooftop. This is as far as you go, Yaiko. When will you learn, Sensei? Yaiko is dead. He extended both of his hands to either side. There is only pain. Almighty. Push! The swampy bubble blew away from him. But is surprised when things snapped back into place, wrapping up his foot once again. Well, now pain is stuck in a swamp, said Jiraiya as he slammed his hands down. Summoning Jutsu, as a massive toad appeared. What are you doing summoning me in the middle of the village, Jiraiya? You pickle-brained idiot. You know how hard it is for me to move without working stuff. He paused as he took in the sight around him of destruction. Not the time, Bunta. Just hit this guy already. Summon me out of the middle of my poker game point to the guy, said Bunta. Huh. Alright then, as he dropped his hand to smash the Deva Pat into oblivion. Almighty. Push! Gamabunta felt the push on his hand, but he slammed his other hand down as he tried to force it back. As he pulled his Tonto, moving back his other hand as he tried to use that pointed tip forward. But Pain increased the blow and blew away the Tonto as he stabbed block rods into the swamp. With the technique destabilized, he was able to pull his feet out of the muck as he pointed a hand towards Gamabunta. Universal pull. Under normal circumstances, the recipient would have fly right towards him. But with the situation on the toad, Pain was pulled towards him as he slammed into Gamabunta like a meteor, knocking him over. As he started to walk calmly until he reached his head. As he pointed his hand down, Almighty, push! Gamabunta cried out a booming noise that rattled nearby windows. The ground splintered underneath him as the force was dissipated through his body, but he did not dispel. As Pain looked over towards Jiraiya, your efforts are futile, Jiraiya-sensei. Call all the help you like, you will only condemn them to the same fate. As he turns attention back to the toad beneath him, Almighty. Gamabunta's sword connected with Pain. The next thing he knew, he was in rubble after flying through 3 buildings. As Nade was holding on to Gamabunta's sword, Pain pulled himself out of the rubble. This was starting to irritate him. Meanwhile, as Naruto was panting a bit, killing large amount of enemies was a Harashin's specialty, but these things just seemed to be endless. Trees had filled the entire place. Every time he killed one of them, a tree would sprout. Well, the masked man said as he has been talking the entire time, as he introduced himself as Toby. As entertaining this isn't getting us anywhere as he snapped his finger. The plant man stopped coming, the last one dropping as another driver rustling onto his skull. You mean it's not getting you anywhere, said Naruto. As he took a breath out. I've just gotten warmed up. Yes, said Toby. Witty banter, sarcastic tone and all that. A large gun made then appear in his hand, a poof of smoke, the chain, going up his sleeve. I think I just gotten to the point where I decided to, what was it again? His voice then darkened. Alright. Deal with you myself. Well, said a voice. I feel unwelcome now. As Naruto knew that voice very too well. Toby turned his head slightly. Itachi, my boy. As he waved his gun back, just in time to join the climactic battle against her old teammate. Could you write the poetry better if I'd make up all of this? Oh right, I did. If we could skip the charade, Madara, said Itachi, as he turned towards the Hokage. That's no fun, Toby or Madara huffed before sighing. But then again, I never could say no to family. As both Uchihas turned to face Naruto, as Naruto's eyes never passed Itachi's chest. Itachi. Naruto. Congratulations on your promotion. Thanks, I got to admit the hat is growing on me. The Hiyori is new. A present from Uncle, said Naruto. Ah. And she's well. Pregnant with her first child actually. I never thought of her the modular type. Well, it was a bit of a surprise to everyone, said Naruto. I can imagine, said Itachi. Toby coughed in his hand. I'm sorry, if I'm interrupting. Yes, as a matter of fact, said Itachi. But if you insist on dealing with this matter quickly. As his form break into a murder of crows, echoing around the clearing. As Naruto cursed, never noticed he was placed under genjutsu. Itachi must have done it while he was in Tree Limb. As he fluctuated chakra trying to break free, while his eyes focused on the crows. But the world shattered, and Itachi phased back into existence. As Toby looked down, there was a sword coming from his chest as he blinked once. Huh? You know, I feel like I should have seen this coming, said Toby. As he stepped forward, the blade passing right through him. Of course the betrayal I saw a mile away. It was simply when you'll betray me. I thought it would be when you were more desperate. After all, I was planning a whole situation with your brother to force your hand. But I guess I don't need to now. Maybe just for fun. I will never forgive you for what you did to Uchihas. Or my village, said Itachi. Huh, says the man who murdered everyone, said Toby. I stopped the rebellion that would have torn my village apart. You murdered women and children. Innocents. Well, I just hate to see a job half finished, you know? As he glanced towards Naruto, I know that the Hokage seem less confused about this. Sometimes, people do trust me to think situation out and not just react on emotions, said Naruto. As he looked towards Itachi, some things the Hokage needs to know. Hiruzen informed me of my request then, said Itachi, and I'll honor it. You can be sure for that, said Naruto. My god, said Toby. Could we get back to the killing, stabby stuff? If you insist, said Itachi as he sheathed back his Danto. As he looked across towards Naruto, I assume that you have been developing a plan to deal with this one. Gears are turning. Then you won't mind if I go first then. Oh, by all means, sound like you want to kill this guy a lot longer than I have. Itachi simply stare at that taunt in mass. You have no idea. But guys, be in the episode right here. If you want the next part, if it's something to do, like, subscribe, comment down below and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. And also guys, go ahead and check out Anime King 3. I'll be leaving the link in top of the description for you guys to enjoy. If you haven't seen it yet, I post a new series. Over there I'll be only posting my what ifs that I create. I post a new episode of What If Naruto Was Betrayed by Hagro, a new series guys. So go over there and enjoy. And also I haven't gotten news on Anime King 2 yet, but I'll make sure to keep you guys notified whenever anything happens, okay? But I'm off for now, see you guys soon, peace.